Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight to have back with us our good friend, Dr. Paul Kreitz. And we've been going through his book entitled Money Matters, the truth about money that no one is telling you. We've kind of been doing a chapter-by-chapter review of this book. Let me encourage you to go to paulkreitz.com and get this book. It is a resource. You can read it probably in an hour and a half or less. But it's not a book you'll read and put down. It's a book you will read and come back and reference over and over again. And so today we want to continue on with our discussion. So what a delight to have Dr. Paul Kreitz with us. He's broadcasting live from his U-Haul moving van.
You have no idea how. It's not U-Haul, it's Allied, but it's pretty close.
I see you're down to one bookshelf and a clean shirt. That's good, Paul.
You can see that all my business clothes are not, they're folded away and boxed away. And I'm getting all ready for we're relocating our ministry, our home, our college, all down to the Jacksonville, Florida area. I'm very excited about it.
Good for you. Congratulations. And when do you hope to be set up shop down there?
We hope to be doing some classes, limited, but hope to have some classes going on in this fall semester. Of course, we have our fall semester in the Bahamas that we have quite a number of students enrolled. And then we have students that are online. And so New Covenant University, newcovenantedu.com is the website. So online, we'll have our campus presence real soon in Jacksonville. And then we have a couple extension campuses around the United States where we work with pastors and churches and they want to train some of their key leaders. But just so much is going on. You know, moving. You just went through it this last year.
Yeah, right. It's quite a trying time. Well, our prayers are with you, my friend. All right, Money Matter. Why did you write this book, Paul? You write a lot of books, but why this one?
I've always wanted to write this book, Perry. And I really wanted to write it. At first, I thought, well, I need to write it for the millennials because, you know, they don't know anything about money. I have adult children, and they're just not connected to money, or it's not seemingly important. And that's why I wrote, it's the truth about money that no one is telling you. One of my chapters is that money is more important than anyone's telling you. You know, someone listening to me right now says, oh, here comes one of those money guys. No, listen. If you're going to do anything significant for God, it's going to require money, whether you have to raise money to take a little missions trip, or whether you're going to build a wing on the building of the church, or whether you're going to do something for young people or children. Money is significant, and you need to know. Jesus said, you know, how can I trust you with the true riches if I can't trust you with unrighteous mammon? Unrighteous mammon is money. So, we've been going through the book, and people can get it, as you said, at paulkreitz.com. And what's been amazing, Perry, is the people that are buying the book, and then they're coming back and buying another copy for a family member or a friend. Just like you say, man, once you get this book, God's all in this book, and he's helping people to get a real revelation.
You've got a great quote here by P.T. Barnum. It says, money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant.
That's right. That's right. But, you know, we were created to have dominion over, you know, all the birds and the creeping thing. And I would tell you, if you don't learn how to master money, money will master you.
All right, we've been going through this chapter by chapter. Today we want to deal with chapter 8, which is it is expensive to be poor. But Dave Ramsey said, and he quotes Dave Ramsey in here, poor is a state of mind, broke is a place you're just passing through.
That's right. I've been broke many, many times in my life. Now, my family, we grew up in the hills of West Virginia, and we were not poor. We were po. We couldn't afford the R. That was for fancy people. We were just po. And so, I learned I had to break that curse of poverty thinking. And I've got a great section here in the book. I was just looking at it. What do you do during tough times of recession? Someone listening to me right now and you're feeling poor. Poor is just a state of mind. Broke is just a thing you're passing through. God can bless you, but here's how you know. Lower income folks think when they go through a difficult time is, How can I get more assistance? And middle class people, they start thinking, well, how can I save if I start carpooling or pack a lunch? But wealthy people, people that know how to master money, here's how they think. They think, how can I create another stream of income? What's another way I can create income? And let me just share this with you, Perry, why it's so important for someone to hear me. I did not grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth by any stretch of the imagination. I worked hard to get through college. I worked hard to do my studies and pay the bill all along the way. And so I sit here and tell you that I understand. I'm not making fun. I understand the challenges of not having enough funds. But I'm telling you, just praying through, and I'm a man of prayer. I've learned that after you pray, listen to me, you've got to get up off your knees. The most helpful hand you will ever find is at the end of your arm. The most helpful hand you'll ever find is at the end of your arm. You're going to have to pull yourself up for a moment and dust yourself off and say, okay, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not making what I need. What do I need to do? Do I need to get some more schooling? Do I need to get connected with some folks? And, some of the top leading motivators say the people that you hang out with and the books you read will determine where you'll be in 5 years. Well, I started reading all the books, but I still had to get some new connections in my life. Some people that knew how to make money and how to handle money. And, someone said money won't make you happy. Well, it'll keep you giggling until something comes along.
That's pretty cute. All right, let's put this into perspective. Jesus does talk a lot about money. And how to management. You talk about it a lot. Dave Ramsey has turned it into an unbelievable ministry talking about it. But there is this thing, well, Jesus didn't own anything. The disciples gave up everything. The early church had nothing. What does all that mean? How does that equate to who we are today?
Well, the truth of the matter, and I put it in the book, that everyone said Jesus was poor. But we know that people supported his ministry and that when he needed things, supernaturally, they appeared. And I don't want to come across cocky, but he did have a treasurer. You got to have money to have a treasurer. He had to have someone handle the money. And you don't have 12 people traveling all around the place without food and things being taken care of. We think that somehow things were different in those days, but they weren't. And then we talk about the disciples were poor, but we know that Matthew was a tax collector and Luke was a doctor, and we know there was men that had a fishing business, 2 brothers. So these were people that knew how to handle money. They knew how to make money. And so they weren't poor. I don't know if they were rich. I don't even know that rich is really the issue, but they were able to take care of their family. Who can leave and follow a minister like Jesus, the Son of God? Who can leave their family for 3.5 years and his family still be in good shape? Well, that's what several of these men did. So God had to bless their lives in preparation for it. And then someone says about the early church, but over in the book of Acts, chapter 4 and verse 33, the Bible says they sold their lands and they brought the prophets to the apostles and set it at their feet so they could get that ministry rolling, so they could keep it moving and, take care of the widows and feed the orphans and do the community outreach. Well, you can't sell land, Perry, if you don't own land. You can't bring an offering in the church if you don't have anything as a proceed to create an offering. So I think some of our misconceptions are not quite clear, but the bottom line is Jesus said, I've come to give you life, in John 10:10, give you more abundantly. And so, I don't know why the church is always defending itself for the blessing of the Lord, because we really clearly see that God wants to bless us. But if you're listening to me and you've been struggling financially, or you lost some things, I'm telling you, God can bring them back to you. I'm a perfect example of that. God can turn it around in your life. And I've got some great principles here in the book.
All right, before we take a break, and again, the book is called Money Matters, and you can go to paulkreitz.com and get it. It's been said money doesn't have a will, but if you change what's in your head, it will eventually change what's in your hand. Is that true?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I put back here three keys to break the chains of poverty off your life. Number one, be willing to change. Number two, walk through wisdom and welcome opportunity. We can talk about those on the other side of the break, but you got to do something. You've got to do something. You got to change what's in your head if you want to see what's going to change in your hand.
All right, Paul Kreitz with us. And again, Money Matters is the book, and look, it's only that thick. It's real thin. You can read this thing in a moment. Mine's just undermarked. It's changed my mind on a lot of things, I'll tell you that. You can get it. Go to paulkreitz.com. He'll pay the shipping back to you if he can find where his shipping notes are. They're packed in a box somewhere, but give him a couple days. He'll figure it out. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
All right, we're back with our good friend, Dr. Paul Kreitz. He's a man on the move, literally. And we're talking about his book called Money Matters, the truth about money that no one is telling you. And you can go to paulkreitz, that's CRITES.com, and order the book. I have found this to be an attitude adjuster for me. And mine's pretty much marked up. And Paul, I've mentioned before, I've been around to some of our supporters in town, and they have this book sitting on their desk. So you are impacting lives. Now, you talked earlier, before we go into the break, about three keys. And this is so true. I think the first thing about money is you just got to change. You got to be willing to change. Until you're willing to change your attitude, you're just stuck.
Yeah. So when you've been going through financial downturn, lost your job, you're going through a difficult place, maybe went through a divorce, maybe you're a struggling student, I don't know where you're at in life, but I want to tell you something, and I really believe this is a word from the Lord for you today. You must never accept the present as permanent. You must never accept the present as permanent. Someone's listening to me, driving down the road, watching at home, wherever you might be, and I want to tell you this, that God can introduce situations, people. You're just one divine appointment away. You're one call away. So you've got to have a change in your heart. You've got to have a change in your heart, and God can help change your heart. And the change that takes place starts with your heart. Secondly, it goes to your head. You've got to not only willing to change, you've got to walk in wisdom. The worst thing about being stupid is you're the last to know. The worst thing about, Perry, I discovered a long time ago, I'm always wrong about something.
Oh, ouch.
I'm always wrong about something. And someone said it's not the lake of fire that's going to bother me, but being in hell with all them stupid people, that's what's going to bother me. So you've got to realize you've got to change your heart, and then you've got to seek wisdom and change what's in your head. Change the way you think. Get your mind renewed. And then finally, key number 3, you've got to welcome new opportunities. I'm telling you, this was so big to me, Perry, when I began to change and get out of my rut, and I went to the same places, I did everything the same, and when I began to change things up, I began to meet new people. I began to meet people that thought like me, that wanted to have a better life, that wanted to believe God for a newer vehicle, that wanted to put my children through college. They weren't just accepting life as it was. Well, this is the life we've had, and It was powerful. It was one of the most powerful moments when I realized that God divinely orders our steps and our stops, and he's ordering yours today. But don't fight. Don't resist against God. Don't say, well, I'm just going to sit here and let, God can bring the blessing to my front door. Let me tell you, get out your front door. Brush your hair, comb it, put some cologne or perfume on, dress yourself up, go meet some new people. You will be shocked who God has in store for your life.
That is so true. And I think the other thing is you just got to be willing to change. I have said this the hard way because I've come through it on the other side. A shut door was a blessing.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that happen?
Oh, man. There's no disappointment that, we change when we, we're motivated to see the reward, or we change when we feel the pain, gain or pain. Uh-huh. And most of my experiences, Perry, has been on the pain side.
Yeah. Well, we normally don't change until there is pain.
Right. And we think we can just keep going by and we'll just keep believing. But there's a pain in your finances. There's pain. Mm-hmm. You could use some extra funds. You could see the blessing of the Lord. God can drop a creative idea for another income stream. I have a partner named Barbara. She lost her husband, widowed. She turned her colonial farmhouse into a bed and breakfast. Then she got some chickens and started putting a sign out by the road, free range egg chicken. She charged like $4, $5 for eggs, and people came and bought them. Then she put blueberry bushes up on the hill, and they came and picked the blueberries, and she just sat there and collected the money. She got into creating income. You're not too old. You're not too young. Your circumstances aren't unique. Everyone's been where you've been. But the good ones, the successful ones, the blessed ones of the Lord have gotten up and shaken it off, and they've moved forward. And that's why you got to change what's in your head. I want to get this book into your life. I'll pay the postage. I want to get it into your life.
Because it really starts there. I think that we're not selling formulas here. You got to get your heart right before God, or this stuff never clicks. It just becomes a formula that fails.
Right. Well, God looks at the heart, Perry. His eyes go to and fro, looking throughout the whole earth, who he can put his hand upon, his blessing upon. I met a wealthy man one day, and I said, what's the biggest challenge of being, and he was a great blesser of ministries and helped so many people, helped missionaries. I said, what's the greatest challenge you face? And I thought he was going to say, guarding my money, or no one would steal it. And he said, Paul, the biggest challenge I have is finding good soil to sow my good seed into. I want to find people that want to take the seed and really make something of it. I want to see them do something for the kingdom. Isn't that ironic that Jesus said, Perry, seek first the kingdom of God, and all these other things will be added? Someone today's listening to us, watching us, and you need to know that the kingdom of God is all around you. The blessing of God is up in your ears right now. God's trying to get a word to you today. He wants to turn it around. He wants to change, but you got to open your heart to this area. Just like you opened your heart to follow him, got to open your heart to receive from him.
Wow, beautifully said. Thank you, Paul. Again, the book is entitled Money Matters, The Truth About Money That No One Is Telling You. Dr. Paul Kreitz. You can go to Paul Kreitz, Dr. Paul Kreitz, that's CRITES.com. Order the book, and he'll send it to you. Pray for Paul and his move. He's moving his entire ministry, including his life, down to the Jacksonville, Florida area from the Nashville area. God is providing a way for him to expand his ministry in every direction, from the university to everything. And hopefully that all gets settled down to. What's the website to the university?
It is newcovenantedu.com.
Okay.
Newcovenantedu.com.
Okay.
And when you go on there, there'll be a homepage, and you'll see my smiling face as the chancellor of the university. That's worth going to the website.
Okay. Paul, you're a delight. Thanks, my friend. And best to you and Angela as you make this transition. I know it's pretty stressful, but God's with you. And I just look forward to happy days ahead for you guys.
All right. Well, we've got everything scheduled. But Paulina's already got me a date for our next next appearance. So it won't be long, but we'll be back with you.
All right. Thanks, Paul. God bless you, pal. All right.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Well, welcome back. What a delight and an honor to have with us today a person that could be on any media source in the world. And he's given us a few moments here today on Focus Today. And what a delight to have with us Peter Schweizer. He is the guy that's made so much news with his book called Clinton Cash, The Untold Story of How and Why Foreign Governments and Businesses Help Make Bill and Hillary Rich. This book is shaking up not only the country, but a campaign. And wow, what a story. Peter, thank you for letting us have a few moments of your time. It's nice to have you in your home where you're relaxed.
Yeah. It's wonderful. It's great to be on with you, Perry. Thanks so much for having me, and I've been looking forward to this.
This is, how you feeling, by the way? You were down for a little bit there for the count, were you?
Yeah, I was. I don't know if it's food poisoning or what it was, but I had just some stomach problems, so I was down for the count for a couple of days, but I'm feeling great. So
Good.
Thanks for asking.
What prompted you to take this subject on? I mean, this was an incredible investigating story. What led you down this road?
Well, the last 5 years or so in my writing career, I've kind of focused on political corruption and specifically self-enrichment. I've always been kind of puzzled by how people that are, in public service, start out middle class and they end up fabulously wealthy. And so I'd written a book called Throw Them All Out, which looked at insider trading on the stock market by politicians. I'd done a book called Extortion about sort of the extortive practices that they engage in. I became intrigued by the Clinton story because, compared to any other ex-president, really going back to Eisenhower to the present, you have ex-presidents that hit the lecture circuit and write books, which is fine, which is great. But the Clintons, really have done it on steroids. And basically what I came to the conclusion pretty quickly is that, he's certainly entitled to write his books and give his speeches. We don't wish anything bad on that. But I think a lot of the wealth that they've accumulated, more than $130 million, has more to do with the fact that his wife was a powerful senator and a secretary of state than him being ex-president. That a lot of the speaking fees, for example, were more influence payments than they were actual speaking fees. And I think that's a huge problem.
Peter, you're writing this book, and all the time, while you're probably in the process of actually publishing it, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton says, "We left the White House broke." How'd that make you feel?
Well, and they did. I mean, there's no question about that. When they left in January of 2001, they didn't have much money. And again, I don't think anybody faults them for, writing books and giving speeches and making some money. The problem is that particularly when she became Secretary of State, the amount of money, who it was coming from, when they were paying it, was hugely troubling. And that's, I think, the most important and compelling part of this story is the effect that it had on her decision making. So yeah, they were dead broke. I don't fault them at all for trying to make some money and live a comfortable life, leave some money for their daughter, etc. But this went way beyond that.
Since the publishing of the book, Hillary has just gone almost stealth. I mean, she's just gone completely quiet. You think you're the reason for that? This book's the reason for that?
I want to believe it has a lot to do with it. I think, there's also, of course, the question of the emails. But, I think this is one of the mistakes that the campaign is making. I'm, of course, not a political campaign veteran by any means. I've never really worked on a campaign. But, I think it's a mistake because, look, she's asking the American people to trust her to be the leader of the free world, to deal with guys like Vladimir Putin, to deal with, the threat of terrorism. And if you can't spend 60 minutes talking to reporters about money that your family's taking in, I don't know. That's not a good sign. So, yes, I do think a lot of it has to do with the fact that she doesn't want to answer these questions. She doesn't want to get dragged into these kinds of questions. But I think that you've got now the New York Times and Washington Post and others reporting on stuff in the book, adding their own reports to it that further confirm there's a problem here. It's just not going to go away as much as they think it's going to. It's just not going to.
Did you expect Bill to run interference for her on this book?
Well, it's funny because when the book first became known to the public, the first person they actually trotted out was Chelsea. Who vouched for the foundation and the wonderful work it was doing, which is fine. Then you had Bill come out with his statement, sort of, twisting certainly what I had said and claiming that, that I said there was no smoking gun there. That's not what I've said, and trying to dismiss it. But, their actions speak differently than their words. While they're dismissing it, their action has been to put together a, 8 to 12 man team to aggressively go after me. They put out a dossier on, myself, making all kinds of exaggerated claims. So they're clearly very concerned and nervous about the book. And I think the easiest way to deal with it is not to let it fester, is just to come out and answer questions. And you're going to have people that will accept what they have to say. You'll have other people that are skeptical. But I think you've just got to come out and respond. I don't think this idea of pretending it's going to go away is going to work.
Now, this book has sparked 5 years tax return review, which is kind of interesting. And then just yesterday, or late yesterday, today, one of the big stories is, oh, by the way, we forgot to report an additional $26.4 million. You got to feel vindicated.
Yeah, no, I do. And I think the most encouraging thing for me, and I've got a fantastic research team that, we all work very hard on this book together. I think the thing we're most excited about is, yes, you're glad that the book's getting attention and that you're selling books and whatnot. But really, I think what you're seeing is major media outlets, the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, who've done a little bit of reporting on this in the past. This has now become the template by which they are, the lens through which they are looking at the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton financial empire. They now realize what this all is about. It's now makes sense to them what it's all about. And this is the way they are framing the news stories. And I think that's very, very important. And that's something that has nothing to do with me. That is the media going out and doing their job and investigating these things. And again, that's not something that's going away. That's going to be here to stay.
Peter, of all the discoveries, and I imagine you're going through the process, your mind must really be racing as you begin to uncover this stuff. But of all the things, what do you think was the greatest violation?
Oh, that's a tough question to answer because I think the real power in the book, if I can speak as the author, is not one or two individual cases. You could say in one or two cases, well, maybe this is just like a bizarre coincidence. I think the real power to the book is you see dozens of examples of this kind of behavior, and you realize, no, this is not a coincidence anymore. It's like a guy that works for a company, and he just is. His timing is just a little bit too good on picking stocks. You don't have proof that he's engaging in insider trading, but he's done, a couple of dozen stock trades, and he always guesses right, and he always maximizes his return. You just look at that and say it's not right. It's a similar case here. So to me, a big turning point in the investigation was when we found the undisclosed donors that the Clintons had promised President Obama, the Senate, the American public, that they were going to disclose all contributors to the Clinton Foundation. And looking at Canadian tax records, we had found a major multi-million-dollar donor that they had not disclosed. That was certainly a major turning point in the investigation.
Wow. I saw the interview you and George Stephanopoulos.
Yes.
And I saw him drilling you pretty good.
Yep.
And then a couple weeks later, bingo. How do you feel now?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Look, I knew it was going to be a aggressive interview, and I've gotten them from other people. I mean, Chris Wallace at Fox News Sunday, certainly, tough questions. Andrea Mitchell at NBC News, and I get that. That's part of what you do when you do this work. With Stephanopoulos, the thing that was frustrating is that unlike those other instances, I really didn't get much of a chance to answer the questions. We never talked about any of the material in the book. It was all about trying to frame it the way he wanted it to be framed. I kind of was assuming that his relationship to the Clintons was in the past. It was a previous chapter in his life. And then lo and behold, this report comes out from the Washington Free Beacon that's now been confirmed that he was a $75,000 contributor to the Clinton Foundation. And that furthermore, as we've revealed, he has gone to a number of Clinton Foundation events where he's been a speaker, he's been a panelist, he's been a judge. He and Chelsea Clinton were judges for a contest for the Clinton Foundation. So this is a massive conflict of interest. And to me, I'm just stunned by it. I mean, if my researcher had told me a couple of months before, we're going to investigate whether George Stephanopoulos was a Clinton Foundation contributor, no way. I mean, I would have laughed and said he would not be that reckless. So I'm stunned by this. And I think that in terms of the damage that this has done to journalism, I think it's far worse than what Brian Williams did. Brian Williams certainly, needed to be suspended. He was embellishing. He'd go on, Letterman and other shows and embellish the experiences that he had as a journalist. But it was not a question of the actual reporting that he was doing. This goes to the heart of the reporting and the role that George Stephanopoulos plays as a journalist. And he's completely compromised on this. And he knew he was compromised on it going in.
And you say hypocritical.
Yeah, I would say hypocritical, and I would say it goes to the heart of what a journalist does. And here's the thing. My book, obviously, is very critical of the Clinton Foundation itself, among other things, about, speaking fees and whatnot, but about the Clinton Foundation. He knew he was a Clinton Foundation supporter. He knew that 7 times he has gone and done events for the Clinton Foundation. Why he on earth thought that that was not relevant to this case, that he didn't have to reveal it, is just shocking to me. He's not that dumb. He's a very bright man. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Well, ABC now is in the corner. It'll be interesting to see what they do with this. That's yet to be seen. Before we take a break, Peter, one of the things, there were 2 things in the book that were very stand out. One was the amount of money that Bill Clinton was receiving for speaking fees while his wife was Secretary of State. Those fees doubled. And then the other one was the whole issue of uranium to Russia. But let's go back to while she was a sitting Secretary of State, all of a sudden the cash was just roaring into the foundation.
Yeah, and I always preface this by saying, look, the Clintons, by their supporters and by their enemies, have been called lots of things over the years. They've never been called naive. They know how the world works. They've been playing the political game for a long time. And so when Hillary Clinton goes from being a senator to being Secretary of State, and people overseas are shoveling large amounts of money to Bill Clinton, he knows exactly what's going on. And so does Hillary. And so to put this into perspective, Bill Clinton's given a lot of lectures over the years. His average speaking fees, a little bit under $200,000. He's gotten 13 speeches for which he's been paid $500,000 or more. So in other words, huge paydays. Of those 13, only 2 occurred while his wife was not Secretary of State. And they were by people who had business sitting on her desk at the State Department who ended up getting favorable action. There's really no other way to explain this. Either the Clintons live in a parallel universe that is governed by massive coincidences at every turn, or something else is going on. And I think most people, are smart enough and sophisticated enough to know that something else is going on. And this is, speaking fees that are really just masquerading as speaking fees. They really are influence payments.
Wow. Let me take a break here, Peter. Really, we value your time greatly. Let me take a quick break. When we come back, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like for you to tell our viewers and listeners, what is the foundation? How does that work? Because it appears now to be a scam, but what's it supposed to be? All right, okay. We'll be right back with Peter Schweizer and the book Clinton Cash in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Welcome back, and what a delight and an honor for us today to have with us Peter Schweizer. He has authored the book called Clinton Cash, The Untold Story of How and Why Foreign Governments and Businesses Help Make Bill and Hillary Rich. He's also authored other books, and perhaps you've picked them up. If not, look for them in the bookstore or on Amazon. Extortion, Throw Them Out, Throw Them All Out, Architect of Ruin, just to mention a few. But this book has shaken the country and has shaken a political campaign. And even since he's written the book, more and more about what the book is about continues to be unfolding as we speak. So, Peter, thank you for your work and thank you for your time. Explain to our listeners, what is a foundation supposed to be?
Well, you know, the Clinton Foundation was set up by former President Bill Clinton. Initially, it was related to the Clinton Library, which is in Arkansas, but more recently, it sort of spun off after he left the White House to focus on a number of issues, and those issues were, development in the third world, combating AIDS, HIV, and other issues, and those are all laudable goals. The problem is really how the Clinton Foundation has functioned, not its stated purpose, but the way it actually functions, that raise a lot of questions, frankly, about the finances, where the money goes, how effective it is, and it's all shrouded in mystery in a way that's very, very difficult to access.
They're not limited to being paid from it, but on the other hand, it's how they go about it. I guess that's where all the gray area is, right?
Yeah, well, part of the gray area is, you know, when you think about charities, you kind of know what they do. So the Salvation Army, they will give you a list of all the hands-on work that they do, helping people that are in need. Or you take a group like Samaritan's Purse. They say, you know, we deal with disaster relief, or we deal with poverty in this area. These are how many people we immunized, or these are the people that we served in this particular way. The Clinton Foundation doesn't serve that way. They don't do any hands-on work with people in the developing world. Now, if you look at the website, you'll see pictures of Bill Clinton with children in Africa, or Hillary Clinton with children in Asia. But that's not really what they do. They will facilitate and work with other charities, but they don't actually do the work themselves. Now, the world, Perry, needs its middlemen, and I'm not saying that there isn't a role to play there, but the problem is quantifying that. So they will say things like, you know, we facilitated 10,000 eye surgeries. Well, you know, what does that mean? Did you actually do the eye surgeries? No, you didn't. A group like maybe Doctors Without Borders did that. Okay, so what did you do? Well, we provided management consulting to make that happen. Okay, well, what does that mean? It's hard to know. And this is part of the reason why certain charity groups like Charity Navigator, for example, which, you know, is online and they rate charities from 1 star to 5 stars, depending on how effective they are. Charity Navigator won't even evaluate the Clinton Foundation because they said it's got a quote unquote unusual business model. I mean, so in other words, they can't really make sense of what it does and what the money's used for, so they refuse to rate it. And then you have groups like the Better Business Bureau that have dinged them because they don't have internal controls on finances, the management's not really accountable. So it's all this big blur. And in the end, we're basically left with taking their word for it that they're being effective, and it's hard to know.
All right, so it's obviously turned into be some kind of a money machine for them. Does the 5-year tax review, isn't that an indication, a further indication that there's a lot of problems here?
There are a lot of problems here. I mean, this is, we're used to the federal government using creative accounting and, budgeting, and a budget cut really isn't a budget cut. But I mean, it is stunning to me the problems that the Clinton Foundation has had for lack of internal financial controls. You've got revising 5 years of taxes with the IRS. You have the fact that they signed an agreement with President Obama saying they were going to disclose all contributors to the Clinton Foundation. What we now know is that there are more than 1,000 that we know of non-disclosed donations. And then you even have the situation that I mentioned in the book of a gentleman from India named Amar Singh, who they disclosed as a donor of giving between $1 and $5 million. But then when you talk to Amar Singh, he said, oh, that wasn't my money. I haven't given them a penny. So even some of the disclosed donors are not actually real donors. And so, they've got huge problems when it comes to the functioning of this foundation, which they have sort of hailed as this wonderful model that's doing all of these good things, but the books are in absolute chaos, and it's really hard to know where that money's ending up, and they have not been transparent at all in the way that they promised they would be.
Do you think some criminal investigation will come out of this?
I think there should be. I mean, I think if you look at some of the recent cases involving political corruption, cases, by the way, that I'm supportive of because I believe in clean government. You look at Governor McDonnell in Virginia, who is in jail on charges related to payments made to the family, which were legal, but those payments led to favorable action, apparently, from for the individual who gave those gifts. He went to jail on that charge. You look at Senator Menendez from New Jersey, who's facing prosecution on funds given to him and favorable action apparently given to the person that provided the funds. Out in Oregon, certainly you have the case with Governor Kitzhaber, who resigned on a similar case where I guess his partner, the First Lady of Oregon, had commercial enterprises that were said to benefit from actions he was taking as governor. With the Clintons, the fact pattern is far more detailed, far more extensive. The amount of money we're talking about is hundreds of times, thousands of times larger. So it's not for a lack of evidence. It's really a question of whether there's a prosecutor or whether the FBI has the courage to take this case on, because the Clintons will fight tooth and nail.
Peter, do you know if it's legal for them to funnel money from the foundation to the campaign?
That would be illegal. There's no evidence that I've seen that they've done that. But what they do is put a lot of people who will work on the campaign on the payroll at the foundation. They use it as kind of a stopping ground. What is illegal, and by the way, this is a international anti-bribery standard that Hillary Clinton herself has endorsed. It is illegal to give a politician money, to give a politician's family member money, like speaking fees to Bill Clinton, or to give money to a politician's charity, like the Clinton Foundation, and expect or receive favorable government action in response. That is illegal. That's why Bob McDonnell is in jail in Virginia. That's why Senator Menendez is being charged. And that has gone on with the Clintons. I think the fact pattern is overwhelming. So there is no question in my mind that there is illegal conduct. I'm not an attorney. I would certainly think that prosecutors have to look into this. But if you look at those other cases, there's no question that the precedent is there for prosecution.
Okay, excuse me. You referred to that earlier. You said that likely is the case, that some favor has been given as a result of some deposits.
Yes, and there are numerous examples in the book. I mean, you look at a company like Ericsson. Bill Clinton's wife is Secretary of State. Ericsson's having huge problems with the State Department. 2009, 2010, 2011, they're named in State Department reports. There are State Department cables to the Swedish government saying Ericsson is selling telecom equipment to Iran and other countries. We have a problem with this. We may pass laws. We may take actions that's going to make life difficult for Ericsson. In the midst of all of this, Ericsson decides for the first time ever, they never paid Bill Clinton for a speech before, they decide to pay him $750,000 for a speech. That's the most he'd ever been paid for a single speech before. Bill Clinton gives that speech. 9 days later, the State Department issues a statement under Hillary Clinton saying, we're not going to take any action against Erickson. We're going to ask Erickson to police themselves. That, to me, is a dead-on example of it. And there are multiple examples like that in the book.
You know, Peter, how do you feel now? I mean, this thing has exploded. How are you handling it? What do you feel about all this?
Well, you know, look, there's been a lot of pressure on me and on the research team here. I think we've weathered that well. We expected it. We're very encouraged. We're very encouraged because the media is I think gets this. They get that this is a big story, not just the book, but the whole conduct and the way in which the Clintons function, the fact that they've hidden contributors and donors. They get that this is a big story and they are on it. And so the most exciting thing to me, frankly, is that the story's not really me anymore. It's about the flow of funds. It's about favors done. And you've got reporters, dozens of reporters at major news outlets that are pursuing this story. That, to me, is what is most exciting about and most satisfying about where we are right now.
You know, it's interesting because most of the major websites this morning are reporting, oh, by the way, 26.4 million wasn't reported. That's going to implode. You got the Benghazi thing now that's starting to show some real life to it. And I'm not saying this to be political as to what I want or don't want, but it appears this could derail her campaign. This could stop it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, the Clintons certainly have a history of just riding through a scandal and controversy. But, you know, look, I think it's a little bit different this time. I think the media really has gotten what's been going on. They, I think, themselves are tired of the high-handed tactics that they have taken against the media. You know, the stories you hear from reporters of what the Clinton apparatus has done to them or tried to do to them is unbelievable. And so I think they are tired of that conduct, and they are moving aggressively to pursue this story. And I think the other factor is, look, Hillary Clinton is not Bill Clinton. You know, Bill Clinton had that ability, long joked about, to sort of look you in the eye, grin, and lie through his teeth. And even if you knew he was lying, you believed him. He's just that charismatic of a guy, and he's that good with his words. That's not Hillary Clinton. This is going to be a much tougher row for her to do. And I think that, you know, in something like this, Bill Clinton would have been out holding press conferences trying to talk his way out of it. The fact that Hillary Clinton's not doing that, I think, signifies the fact that they know she's just not going to handle this well. She's just not good in these kinds of situations. So, yeah, I do think it's going to be a problem going away, and it's going forward, and the problem's not going away.
Peter, I only got about a minute left. What's your view of the Clintons personally now, as a result of all of it, and post your book being published and all the other stuff that's being added to it as a result of your investigation?
Well, you know, my view on politics in general is I'm skeptical of government power because I believe in the fallen nature of man. I think that you give power to anybody, they can be the most noble person. But you give them enough power for long enough and bad things are going to happen. So for me, honestly, the conduct of the Clintons, I think, is abhorrent. I think it demands investigation. But to me, the real story here ultimately is you give anybody power this long, you give a family power this long, and you've got to be very weary because the temptation to cut corners and get rich is just too strong in my mind.
Wow. Well, Peter, thank you. You're in our thoughts and prayers for protection, you and your team. Unbelievable. Are you doing any kind of a follow-up to this?
Well, we're continuing to report on you know, things that we uncover that are coming out. We're doing some research on Jeb Bush right now, following the same methodology. We expect that to have out in September. So, no, we're not going anywhere.
Okay. It's put out by Harper. It's called Clinton Cash. This is the book that's got America on tilt right now. And check it out, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. Thank you, Peter. Hang in there, buddy.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I look to having you back soon. All right. Again, check it out, Clinton Cash, at the bookstores or online at Amazon, Peter Schweizer. And I tell you, it's an incredible, fascinating read, to say the least. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.